right, my family, I cannot believe I'm fixing to do this with y'all, but we are at Walmart and we are fixing to go shopping together. Whew. I'm taking a deep breath because I've never done this before. So let's see how we do this, and without people thinking I'm absolutely out of my mind. Let's go shopping. Okay, my family, so one of the first things to do about grocery shopping, and I'm sorry for the loudness, is number one, don't come hungry. Coming hungry grocery shopping can cost you more than if you just came with a list, knew what you were coming for, and leave. Now, unless you look for a sale, that's different, but never come grocery shopping hungry. So we're going to come to the cheese, and I'm going to show you which kind. There's a couple of them that we can use for supper tonight. And this is the one I prefer to use with the marguerite pizzas, but I will show you the options, and then there is another option you can do. So the first option, now this is more expensive, it is $7.97, but this will do everything for our meal and then some. It will give us our pizza, also for our salad, but then they do have some smaller versions. So this one here would be $3.94 for this log, and then we have these balls right here for $4.26. The reason I like these is, or this fresh mozzarella, honestly, is because it melts so much better. But you can use the blocks for about $2, but I would encourage you to grate your own if at all possible. Okay, y'all, so now we are in the bread aisle. Now, a few things that you can use to make a margherita pizza would be, number one, Joseph Lavish. It is thin enough to use because the margherita pizza in the Italian is it's rather a thin crust. So if you didn't want to actually make your own, you can use the Lavish. It has 8 grams of carbs, 2 grams of fiber, and there is no sugar. Now the 8 grams is for a half a sheet of this. So altogether, if you were to eat a whole one like this, it'd be 16 grams of carbs, if you are watching your carbs. If you're not, a couple other options you can do would be using some of these pita or naan breads, N-A-A-N. Let's see if I can find you some, I'm not sure, but a pita bread will actually work for that too, for an individual size. Let me see if I can find some naan bread. Okay, so unfortunately it don't look like they have any naan here, but I did notice, and this is a new product, they do have keto pitas also. They're $4.68. Now if you wanted to use the there's Joseph's heart friendly pita bread. This is $3.27 for this, and I think there's only 5 pitas. Or you can do the Joseph's white pitas. They're low fat and calories. Those are 4 for $2.64. This is why I actually make my own, y'all. So I'm hoping this is helping. Okay, so it looks like the peaches came down significantly. They used to be $3.47 a pound. They're $1.98. So that's a good deal, and some that I would actually purchase to use for our salad tonight. However, when I'm looking for peaches, I'm not looking for rock hard ones. I'm looking for fairly soft, but not super soft. A couple options: if you're not able to get peaches, you can use them from a can, but try to stay away from too much of the sugar-based ones. You want all natural if at all possible, or your own home canned at that. So let me go ahead and see if I can find at least 1 or 2 peaches that are not rock hard. Okay, I managed to find a couple fairly decent, but these are still hard. And this is why I don't like this. When they're rock hard like this, first of all, y'all, that tells me they are not ripe. You're not getting your full nutrients, and this kind of frustrates me for what we're paying. So if you can find some at a farmer's market a whole lot cheaper, please go for it. And I'm going to show you a couple other options. A couple things to watch out for that I have learned over the time too when you're out shopping. Read your labels. Now you see these beautiful vine tomatoes. This always got me because I didn't pay attention to the fine print. It shows these are $1.98, and you would assume it meant $1.98 for this pack. However, upon looking at it closely, this is where it always got me at the register. It is per pound, y'all. Pay attention to this very carefully. Now, these tomatoes are $1.98, but it says each for a 3-pack. So this is what you're going to pay for these 3 right here. These are $1.98 versus per pound over here for the vine ripes. Alright, to show you why I make my own sauce. Now we can come here and grab a jar of sauce like this, of pasta to use for $1.67. But how much of this big old jar, if you're a small family, are you going to actually use? So I go and look, Rayo's, $6.88, y'all. You're not going to spend that much. $8.52. You're going to use the whole thing. So let's go down where we can economize down cheaper. Okay, so we can use pizza sauce for $1.52. The smallest is a 14-ounce jar. However, when you read the ingredients in here, you got soybean oil, you got salt, spices, natural flavor, citric acid, which that's in most all things. You got your tomato puree in that. But how much of this are you going to actually use and store up in your refrigerator? You'll have to freeze it to do that. Okay, so this is where it becomes a little bit more exciting. So you saw that we've seen almost $7, $2 for these jars already made. But how about 96 cents for even an Italian style with seasoning? You can just put and do like we're going to make at home. So we can do $1.48 for a big old can, and we could still freeze the remaining afterwards. But it'll be homemade without all those preservatives. We can come down here and get the regular diced tomatoes again for 96 cents. You can actually get tomato sauce for 96 cents. Now we might be able to get them cheaper at Aldi's, but this is the point of doing this homemade. We don't spend as much doing this for ourselves as we do in waste here already pre-made. Alright, now say you do have a big family and you do make a good amount of sauce. Now we do have, I was talking about the whole tomatoes. Now we can get into the hype that we can use Centro, which is a much higher product. Let's see, the crushed version of this is $2.82. The whole version of these are $4.38. They're San Marzanos, the same thing that I'm growing outside. But also, if you come down to a much lesser different variety, like Hunt's for instance, whole San Marzano tomatoes, they're $2.66. So you can shop differently. They say the flavor is different, and it possibly is. There's some in more of a water-based sauce than a tomato sauce, which is a little bit thicker. Just choose wisely on what you're able to do for that moment. Okay, so the other option that you have when you come to doing the cheese would be doing this by the blocks. Now the difference between these blocks, which this is a 1 pound for $3.44, you can go less than that. I think it's $1.77 for 8 ounces. Now the difference between this cheese and then the fresh cheese that I showed here is the melting. The fresh cheese melts a whole lot better than this cheese here. But I would encourage you, if you're going to use the block, please grate it yourself, because this doesn't have that coating on it, and it will melt a lot better if then the stuff that you already have pre-shredded. Okay, y'all, so another option you can do, I suppose, if you did not want to make your own, is go ahead and use the pizza crust here. This container is $3.64. Y'all, but it's got, what does it have in here? Dextrose, vegetable oils, palm, soy, leavening, which that would be yeast, cottonseed oil, xanthan gum, potassium sorbate. Yeah, it's got preservatives you really don't want in here for $4 basically when you add your taxes, unless you're lucky and not have taxes. See, this 1/6 of the crust for this is 31 grams of carbs, and it's got 4 sugars. But if you're not watching your carbs and that, I can understand this. So when it comes to comparing in price wise, and I'm not even sure because I don't see the sticker for this one here from Pillsbury. Let me check right quick. Okay, so this one actually is $2.64, and it was a Pillsbury for $3.64. So, and like I said, that is another option if you didn't want to do anything, but make sure you roll it out pretty thin. Okay, yeah, so I gotta show this to you. So many say that honestly it is too expensive to eat in the Mediterranean and healthier way. Well, we're looking at this bag of chips, and honestly these are 8.5 ounce bags, and the price is labeled $3.98, but it's been marked down to $3.50. I can guarantee you my tomatoes, I still had $1.98 for 3 tomatoes and then some, so I could get something extra for the same price of this one bag of chips. Let's go to the cookie aisle. Yeah, I'm gonna hit them all as much as I can. So these things of Oreos, for 1 pound of Oreos, are $4.88. But what if we made our own healthier, made them homemade? You get these Oreos, they range from $4.98, and yes, we can go down to the much cheaper versions, because these go $4.78, $5.98, $2.98, and $2.46. However, have you seen the preservatives in all of these cookies and the sky rate of sugar? Here's another misconception. Think big bars are nutritious and healthy for you. For $4.78, we have an excessive amount of 12 grams of sugar. For how many cookies, y'all? Try 2 cookies. 2 cookies. And then you got your carbs of 22 grams for 2 of those cookies, if you're watching that. You got total fat of 2 grams. By the time you sit this, and honestly, let's be honest, who is going to sit down and just eat 2 of these big cookies? And now that's not including the 10 extra grams of added sugars in these so-called healthier cookies for us. Yeah, we got all the preservatives in that as well. And so we think that we're eating healthier at $4.78. Don't get caught up in the hype of what is healthy and what is not. So we can go down to a smaller package of 14 ounces for $2.42. But is it worth it? Or can we just go home and make our own and add less sugar and better ingredients? Okay, so now on the other spectrum, let's go ahead and make a comparison. For 5 pounds of flour, we have $2.38. Now remember, we saw our cookies up to $5.98. Now we add that with some yeast, which over here is $1.88. So far though on this, well, we can even go to $1.14 with the Walmart brand. Okay, so how much are we going to get out of that 5 pounds though? Seriously, that's going to make a lot of bread. It's going to make a lot of homemade cookies. And if you really wanted to, for the same price of those cookies, still yet, you can get a 10-pound bag of flour for $4.57. Now, if you wanted to make it a little bit more healthier, you can do half and half with some whole wheat. The whole wheat, however, is slightly more at $6.12. But again, when it comes to your health, you're going to get a whole lot more out of this than buying that stuff that we just saw that is not healthy for you. Oh, here's a really, really good one, y'all. Okay, so when we get that sweet craving, a lot of us will grab those bag of chips and we'll grab those cookies because that's what we've been accustomed to. However, do you know the sweetness that can come from a strawberry, fresh strawberries? Now these are $2.48. You can get so much nutrients, vitamins, and minerals out of a fresh strawberry. And y'all, I'm fixing to grab some of these because that is a deal. Or I could even go a lot bigger over here, which these are 2 pounds for $4.86. So I'm going to, basically I'm going to come down to the 1 pound one. And I'm going to pick me a thing of strawberries because I am going to enjoy this. Also, if you really wanted some sweets, here's some cherries for $2.98 a pound. So these, I would prefer to have this as a sweet than something that is full of preservatives and no nutrient value at all, where this has lots of nutrients values. Okay, y'all, so we are actually going home now and we're going to get ready to make our dinner. As you can see at this point, though, groceries are pretty much the same. I gotta open up my window, y'all. They're pretty much the same on both areas, even in the healthier side. But one is going to be healthier than the other. So it's choosing our battles wisely. The only difference is one is set for convenience, the other is, well, homemade. So you choose what you think is best for you and your family, but I did do some comparisons, and I could have done so much more, that there's really not much of a difference in saving money per se, to an extent, of the regular junk food stuff versus homemade. The one thing you can get is one's got way more nutrients, vitamins, minerals, and healthier for you than the other one. And in comparison, in a lot of ways, the fresh foods, except for the meat, and I told you the meat would be the most expensive. Now, I didn't get a chance to do that because I'm on a tight schedule and my husband has a list of things for me to do. But next time I go shopping, we'll check the meat department because that's going to be where your most cost comes from. But in comparison, I've showed you in some ways, I had it cheaper in the produce and the more healthier varieties of snacks than I did for the stuff that was already convenient on the shelf. So let's go home and make supper because this is going to be an amazing meal. Okay, my family, so we are home, and with that means that we're going to take everything that we went shopping with today and we're fixing to make our meal. Currently, I am already doing a pizza crust. Now, I will put a recipe in the description for those who do not use fresh milled. I am using fresh milled, and I will put that recipe in there from Lovely Bell Bakes. This is a soft pizza crust, a 12-inch, which I'm going to actually break it down and make an individual size, like a non-size or small individual pizza, and save the rest of it in the freezer for another time. So, at this moment, we are going to be, let me show you what I'm doing right now with this dough. Okay, y'all, so currently, let me see if I can do this one-handed. I've got my dough sitting on rest for the first 20 minutes so all of the liquids can absorb. I think we got about 3 minutes left of this. So I'm waiting on that, and then I'm going to finish it out to make my dough, let it rise, and all that good stuff. It's a yeasted one. But again, I will add one for you. I will try to use a recipe that before I was milling, I will try to use a recipe that we had as a go-to. This, I'm learning some new things about milling, and so I am finding my go-to recipes with this that works, because some of these fresh milled, Lord have mercy, but I did find the best biscuits. Holy smokes, you talk about flaky, fluffy, soft. Oh, they could get you in trouble. Those kind of biscuits. So I'm hoping this dough for the pizza comes out just the same. Now, I am currently going to use the small tomatoes, which we had picked from our garden. I'm making a marinara for our margarita pizza. And we are going to start with the tomato peach salad that goes with this tonight. So y'all, I'm excited. That was the first time, and that was an experience I have never taken before. I was taking anybody grocery shopping with me. It was definitely interesting. So let's get started on our marinara, and it's going to be a simple, this one's going in the oven. I'm going to show you how simple this is. A lot of this could be pre-done and even frozen, so that when you need it, pull it out, defrost it, strain it, I guess, or whatever, and make your sauce to go on your pizzas. Right now I just didn't have that kind of time because I'm, well, going along with you on the videos. So let's make this marinara so we can get going on the salad and get that in the refrigerator. Okay, y'all, so I had cleaned off my garden tomatoes, and I got the oven preheated to 350 degrees. So I am now just going to turn around and add, and this is a mixture of variety tomatoes. I have San Marzanos and some of our cherry tomatoes in here. So I just peeled and mashed whole 2 cloves of garlic, some Spanish white onions. We're just going to throw some of that in there. I'm going to sprinkle some of this with some salt. I'm using Himalayan. No, I did not pull the skins off. They will come off in the end after we bake them to a nice char. Now, I'm sprinkling that with salt, and then I'm going to drizzle it. Nice drizzle of olive oil. And now we're going to put this in the oven and just let it char, cook, and do its thing for our marinara. So that's what I like. I just throw it together, and I pretty much let the oven take care of the rest. Alrighty, so our charring on our tomatoes are done. Now this is watery, but we're going to fix this up. So first thing I want to do is go through here and pulling off, because this is still quite hot. I just want to pull off all these skins. I will not be dehydrating this because it has oil. And you cannot compost this either. So this is basically no use, but it's alright because I still got this amazing flavor in here. So I'm just going to go ahead and pick all this out. We're going to set this aside and let it cool just a bit, because I'm going to have to take an emulsion blender to it before I can continue making this into my marinara sauce. So I'm going to go ahead and pick this, and I shall be right back. Okay, y'all, so as I was speaking before, our recipe for the week comes from the Mediterranean Dish Cookbook, and we are going to make the Midsummer Tomato and Peach Panzanella, and this looks amazing, y'all. So we're going to put this together. I am going to, first of all, toast some bread, just a little bit of bread, like making breadcrumbs into it, rustic. And I will be right back as soon as I get this done. Okay, so this recipe serves 4 to 6. You know, for one person, I'm not going to make that much of it. So we will be cutting this in half. It looks to be an easy recipe to adapt. Now, I am going to be using fresh milled bread from, and I'm only going to do 1 piece. Actually, just need to do that just a little bit thicker. So the recipe actually calls for a half a loaf of ciabatta or other rustic bread. I am not using no half loaf, y'all. So this is good enough right here. I'm just going to use 1 piece. I'm going to coat my little pan with some olive oil. Heat this pan up, and I'm actually going to toast mine. So I'm going to cut this up in about 1-inch cubes or so, 1/2-inch cubes. Once this is heated up, we're going to toss this in here. Once these are done, we're going to set them aside and continue on with the rest of our ingredients. Y'all, this is what blessings are made out of. This is a huge bundle of basil, which I need for supper tonight in all 3 of these recipes. This is amazing, and these are goals for quadruple the amount of what I'm growing this year. I am ecstatic, and this is what makes me smile. absolutely makes me smile. Okay, so for the first thing we're doing is, now I'm only making this, I'm not even halving this recipe to an extent. I am making it one person, but still, it's pretty simple to do. You, however, will get the full recipe in the description. But it says to take our tomatoes, which are cut into a wedge, and nicely season this with salt. Once we do that, we're going to let this tomato sit, because the goal is to drain out the liquids into a tomato juice. So now that we sprinkled this with salt, yep, I see it working already. So now we're going to let this sit, let the juices for the tomatoes go to the bottom of the bowl. Once this is done, we'll go ahead and continue with the rest of our stuff. Okay, so now that the tomato juices are in our bowl, I'm going to add about a quarter of a cup of olive oil. Well, a half a cup. Sorry, y'all. I'm forgetting that I am decreasing the amount of this. So I am using about a half a cup of olive oil. I am using a quarter cup of red wine vinegar. We're going to use a half a teaspoon of Dijon mustard. Some thyme. Now it calls for fresh thyme, about a tablespoon of fresh. So I'm going to use about a teaspoon or so of dried thyme. Some salt and pepper. And we use that to taste. I'm going to use 1 clove of garlic. Hang on a second. Hold the boat. Be right back. Shoo, I was right. Never mind, y'all. I lost track for a minute. My head does that. It just gets squirrel and I start thinking about something else and I lose it. I've been doing that a lot lately. I need to slow down. That's why I said enjoy life. That is definitely one of my goals. So I don't mind a lot of garlic. I used a whole clove. This calls for 2 cloves of garlic for this recipe though. So there we go. Alright. Now we're going to whisk this dressing together, taste it to our liking, and see if it needs any adjustments. Ooh, yum, y'all. Okay, so now we're going to, in this bowl, add our tomatoes. Now the tomatoes, they call for 3 to 4 vine ripe tomatoes cut into wedges. You're going to need shallot, 1 shallot thinly sliced into rounds. I don't have a perfectly rounded shallot, but we're going to pretend, right? And shallots are, you can find these if you're not familiar with them. They are a milder version of an onion, and they can be found in the fresh produce aisle. Usually in something like this, and they're really not that expensive, y'all. Okay, so now we have our shallots in here. We need to add our peaches to this. This is, how many peaches we got here? 3 ripe peaches, and you need to wedge these as well. Now, I'm not going to use a whisk anymore. Now, on that basil that we had, I'm going to take a couple leaves of basil, And I am just going to tear them. Now, mind you, I did wash these because they did come from my garden. And one of the biggest things about Mediterranean cooking, y'all, is the freshness is literally that. It is in season foods like our peaches, strawberries, tomatoes. They use a lot of vegetables and fruit that is in that season basically only. Alright, so now we have our basil. And I believe we got one more thing to do, and that is that fresh mozzarella we went shopping for. I'm using it for both this salad and for my pizza tonight. So all we do at this point is we take a bit of our fresh mozzarella right here, and we're just going to tear it into pieces like this. Once we mix this together, y'all, you should see the color. This looks, I can't wait to dig into this, honestly. So I'm just going to take some pieces like this and just tear them apart in here. Oh my goodness. And I am using these cookbooks, like I said, so that I can learn the authentic way of making Mediterranean food. I'm not looking at what is perceived to be Mediterranean. I'm looking for authenticity, and I have found the resources, so I'm using it. Now I'm just going to take this and mix it all together. I'll show you what this looks like. That is an amazing fresh salad for summer, and it's using all right ingredients for the season. Now I'm going to take a bite of this, and I will be right back with you. Okay, y'all, so I am going to take a bite of this. I'm trying not to take too big of a bite so it doesn't look cheeky, if that's what you want to call it, cheeky. So, I don't know what possessed me to do that, but that's the truth. So let's try this. Bon appetit. Oh my goodness. Okay, so you mix these tomatoes and acidic along with the red wine vinegar. You mix that with a very sweet peach. No other sweetener to this. You get a sweet and sour mix that is absolutely amazing. Then you get that beautiful coating of Dijon and the garlic and that thyme and olive oil. You can taste every bit of this blended together. Top this with that basil fresh from the garden and that chewiness of the cheese. Oh, y'all, this is a recipe of disaster, for the fact is you can eat too much. So I'm gonna enjoy this. I can absolutely taste this with my pizza tonight. So let's get on to the pizza before I finish this bowl, because I got to get it out of my sight and in the fridge. That's good. Got to add one last thing, y'all. The breadcrumbs. That's what helps absorb that sauce. Now we got this right. Okay, so I made a soft, fresh milled pizza dough for a 12-inch size pizza. However, one person is not going to eat 12 inches of pizza. So what I am fixing to do is I have divided this into 3 to make 3 individually sized pizzas. What I'm also doing with the other 2 is reserving these for another time in the freezer. So this way, when I want to cook them, I have the mix already done. All I have to do is defrost it, and I will be able to make more pizza Mediterranean style. So I have this piece for tonight, and these are going in the freezer. Alright, now for our marinara. I have everything in here. I am now going to take an emulsion blender, and I am going to puree this up. Afterwards, we're going to thicken it up a bit just so that we can make it for our sauce. Okay, let's make some magic for sauce. Now we're going to take all of this that we just used the blender in. I'm going to add this to my pan. Now remember, we were talking about making a simple sauce. Now this was already cooked with the onions, tomatoes, and garlic and all that in it, so I'm really not wanting to add any more seasonings in here. What I do want to add though is some fresh basil. So I am going to tear a couple leaves of fresh basil in here, just to give this that more Italian flavoring for our sauce. And then I am going to be adding just a little bit of tomato paste to this to help thicken it up just a little bit. Oh, y'all, this. Whew. Now I'm going to also add, I'm going to taste this and test it for salt and pepper, if it needs any of this or not in here. Oh yeah, just a little bit, not much. There's a little bit of salt, fresh smelled pepper, and let's go get some tomato paste. Okay, because I don't use a whole lot of paste at once, tomato paste is inexpensive basically for the small can. But a problem that I have found using it is I don't always use it, and it goes in the fridge and I don't get to use it in time. I'm sure I can actually freeze it, but for about $2 and something, I actually, because I only use about a tablespoon or so at a time, I just buy this and use it along the way. Now, unless I'm going to do something like chili or spaghetti sauce, then I will go and get the regular size tomato paste. But for something small like this, I just get these, and you can find this in the tomato aisle as well. So now I'm just going to go ahead, let this cook for a bit. Once this cooks down for our sauce, we're going to go ahead and put our pizza together, y'all. This is amazing. Absolutely amazing. I love this sauce since I learned how to do this. It is so simple. So we'll be right back. Okay, y'all, so now it is time to fix up my pizza. So I am just going to get a little bit of olive oil on my fingertips because I don't want it sticking. And I'm going to make this as simple as possible. We're not going to roll this out. We're actually going to push this out with our fingers. I'm just rolling it just like you see here. And I am just going to make a rustic type of pizza crust for me. I'm pushing it out like this, somewhat thin. I don't want it thick. This will already puff up, but like I said, we're just going to make this a very rustic. Now, if I had, it's raining now, but another one that would make this absolutely perfect was if I had the pizza, charcoal pizza thing outside running. But I don't, so we're just going to pop this in the oven. It'll be just as good. Alright, so I have just about my pizza crust ready. Alright, now I'm just going to turn around. This is super simple again. That sauce that we made, and I do have quite a bit left over, so I will be freezing it because I still have 2 more pizzas, so I'll be doing it in individual servings. Alright, now I'm just going to make some dimples in here like focaccia so that my sauce seeps into my crust. So now I'm just going to take and I'm just going to brush. Oh Lord, y'all, I've tasted this pizza before and I know what it's already gonna taste like. So my mouth is, I'm actually trying not to drool while I'm cooking. Believe it or not, Mediterranean food has enhanced my flavor boost so much. Alright, now as you can see, I have a whole lot more, but I can do this for pasta and so many different things. This is part of what we were talking about, having things on hand and be able to make Mediterranean food. You buy something in bulk, break it down, you have several meals, so you can do like I did. And all I had to do was buy a thing of mozzarella, I had to buy a peach And that was pretty much it because I had everything else. So now from here, that same mozzarella that we used, we're going to sprinkle some of this on there. And actually, I just want to drizzle just a little bit of olive oil on here, not a whole lot. I'm just going to drizzle this. Now we're going to go ahead with our pieces of mozzarella, and we're going to tear this onto here, just in pieces like so. This is very simple. There's no meat to this. I mean, I suppose you could add meat if you wanted to. If I did anything, I would do an authentic Italian sausage, take the casings off of it, and sprinkle that on here. But I wouldn't do too much to this, y'all, because you take away from the absolute delicious flavor of it on its own. So, there's our cheese. I can't get enough cheese, so I'm just going to add just a tad bit more. Do I really need all that cheese? No, I don't. Okay. And that's it. Now I'm going to put this in the oven until it's golden brown and that our top is nice and melted. We'll finish this off and we'll be right back. Okay, y'all, so I'm going to put on the finishing touches to this pizza, and this is all this is. It was just that simple. And this is a Mediterranean pizza, very healthy, so much healthier. And let me give you a close up look at what this amazing pizza. Now this is what you will find all over Italy. Y'all, I could absolutely enjoy Italy. So let me give you a final look at what supper looks like tonight all together with all the beautiful colors for summer. And there we have it, y'all. Here is our tomato peach salad that we made earlier, and here is our pizza margherita. This is a 100% authentic from Italy Mediterranean meal. Again, I know this video was quite long, but we have so much going on when we went shopping and come home and cooked. So I hope you like this, as we will probably do this once a week where we shop and then we come and make a meal. So one thing I will tell you right quick, hold on. Alright, y'all, so I won't make this last long because this has been long enough. But one thing I have learned when I went shopping, and one of my biggest things I started falling back into, and that was hard to stop, was when you go shopping, for the most part, I know a lot of us, basically we're exhausted now. We don't feel like cooking because now we got to put everything away, and so we stop at a fast food restaurant. Y'all, these are the habits that we need to stop, and this is where we will save a whole lot of money when we do that, on top of staying away from, which I showed you examples today, and look what you get. I mean, this is an amazing meal I cannot wait to get into. So until next time, much love, and I hope you enjoyed this from Parton's Heritage Homestead.